Bill Belichick is interviewing for a job, or did interview for a job, I should say. Not in the NFL, but at the collegiate level, at the University of North Carolina. That's in the ACC. For those of you who are wondering which of the college conferences that is the ACC, Power 4, yes, but ACC North Carolina. Not exactly Alabama. Not exactly LSU. Nope, North Carolina. Bill Belichick interviewed there. Phil, your theory on why?
Okay, so my personal theory is that he might have an idea of what his interest will be at the NFL level, and he simply wants to coach so badly that a job opens like this one. It might be the best college job that opens this offseason. And he says, what the heck, I'll go interview. I'll blow him away. I'll blow him away because I'm Bill Belichick, and reportedly North Carolina was blown away by him. My guess is they were just sort of blown away by his presence, the fact that he was even there, or interviewing by Zoom, which, according to one report, is what happened. So I'm interested in this. Was it an in-person interview? Was it a Zoom interview? Was it a series of Zoom interviews? If it's a series of interviews, I feel like he might actually genuinely be interested, because he might, Beetle, given his contacts in the NFL, have an idea of what his interest level will be in 2025 as a head coach, when he'll be 73 years old. This guy knows everybody in the league. There are a handful of jobs that are already open that can reach out to him today if they wanted to. If they were doing that, would he be interviewing for the North Carolina gig?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so either. So my theory is he's genuinely interested in the job, which is sad for us content-wise. That would be disappointing if he ends up in North Carolina. I don't know how much we're going to be talking about North Carolina football next year. Can I tell you what I've heard from people that have worked with him that know him even better than I do?
Yes, please.
Nobody believes that he will ever go and do this. Now, I'm not canvassing every single person he's ever worked with. But over the course of the last 12 hours or so, whenever this story broke, spoken to several people now who know him well, have worked with him with a long time in some cases. They can't see this happening. College football, NIL deal, figuring out how much an 18-year-old should be paid in millions of dollars potentially just so he can come and play for Bill Belichick after being Johnny Foxborough at Foxborough High. Bill Belichick's going to do that?
And Johnny Foxborough at 19, 20 years old can walk into Bill's office and say, hey, coach, I don't feel I've got enough money right now. And I'm going right into the portal if you don't give me a little more.
No way.
After all the years of having players under his thumb and under his control and being able to use that to his advantage as a real disciplinarian and a guy who gets the most out of players because he had control of his roster at all times, to now have a situation like that, that's not great for him. That's not his style.
It's not his style. Do you see him actually pursuing it wholeheartedly?
I think your theory is the right one. I was talking about this last night with Trenny on TV. I said it has to be that because he has put out the feelers at the NFL level and has found that there is not a lot of interest in him to be a team's head coach. And he's worried that for a second straight offseason, there won't be a job for him in the NFL. And because of that, he wants to coach again so badly, which I do not blame him for, and completely understand that he's willing to go coach at UNC or any other school that is big-time college football. So, yeah, I think he's interviewing because he could potentially see himself doing it because he has no other options. If you go 2 years out of the NFL, it gets even harder. The more time that passes from him being the coach of the Patriots almost a year ago now, the harder it is for him to get back in.
Oh, you think he might be taking this job as a means to get back into the league?
As a means to continue coaching.
Okay.
And
yes.
Still be coaching and be active in coaching, because the longer you're not coaching, I feel like the harder it is to get back into it. Both in terms of a team or program, in this case, is willingness to bring you in and hire you, but also just you're out of it, and people start looking at you like, oh no, he's out of it.
I personally believe what you believe. Like, he could reach out to Shad Khan and say, hey, what do you think? Bill, we're not sure about Doug, but we haven't fired him yet, and we might want to go in a different direction. But it's interesting to me. There's a little bit of a disconnect with Cohen, because the people that know him again better than I do are saying, no. This feels like a leverage thing. I got a text this morning that the person put the chances of Bill Belichick actually going and taking this job at North Carolina at 0.0.
I laughed at it because of the NIL thing at first, too. But the more I think about it, I wonder, too, if it's a situation where he reaches out to Jacksonville and they say, well, yeah, we're interested in you as a head coach, but Trent Baalke's going to run things from the front office perspective. Chicago, we're interested in you as a head coach, but Ryan Poles isn't going anywhere. When you look at the college situation, getting hired as a head coach at UNC, it's your show. So you guys talk about the NIL stuff. Yeah, the guy's walking into his office to talk about it because he's the guy that is running everything at UNC. And I think that's a huge attraction and makes actually a lot of sense for Bill Belichick moving forward.
Which would be more proof that he was never going to give up personnel here in New England. If he's not willing to give up personnel going somewhere else, he was never going to give it up here, where he had it for a very long time.
And personnel is like the last thing I would want at the college level right now, by the way.
Brutal.
It's one of the reasons why guys are leaving college football. There's a good example on the sidelines last night. Green Bay Packers used to coach here locally, Jeff Hafley. And he's doing an okay job at Green Bay. And
one of Bill's best coaching friends, Nick Saban, retired.
Nick Saban out.
I'm done.
You know, these guys, he's going to be 73 years old, and he's going to want to be trying to play GM at the college level where this is all new. It's still sort of the wild, wild west. You've got teams that are hiring people like Andrew Luck to go be the general manager of Stanford football.
Woj.
Going to the Bonnies.
Going to the Bonnies just to organize the books. Bill wants to do that? I just, it's really hard for people to envision. I think he's doing it because he's just that addicted to coaching. He wants to get back in. He wants to compete. And listen, all the power to him. And this might be his best opportunity to do it. It's just really hard to picture him doing all of the college football stuff that would be associated with that job.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the Brian Flores text as kind of evidence back in the day of him maybe not having his pulse on the finger in terms of having to use technology to recruit kids. That could be a problem moving forward. But I wonder if he looks at his own coaching tree and says, wait a second here. Bill O'Brien and Jed Fish have both had success at the college level so far. And if those guys that were underneath me can do it, I am capable of doing this as well.
I think that's
his
fair.
coaching tree in college is better than it is in the NFL.
That's fair. Those guys are a lot younger.
Yeah.
And they've got the energy to go and to recruit. And I heard Bert this morning on with Hardy and Perillo and Wallach, and he had some great intel on this. But one of the things he was talking about was the fact that Bill won't actually have to go and recruit. You know, Dion doesn't go out and make household visits. And you could actually hire an entire staff to go and do the recruiting for you. And then you have you and your coaches, and you just handle the coaching. I think that sounds fine in theory, but isn't the entire idea of recruiting and going and visiting these kids to actually entice them to come to your schools, to build a relationship with these kids? So you're gonna have some like hired gun go out and recruit, and then that kid's never gonna see that person again because he's not actually on the football staff. He's just a focused recruiter, and that's all he does. And he's never seen Bill Belichick in person before committing to that school, unless he's making a visit to the school. It's just hard for me to picture.
I don't know. I don't think it would be successful, but I could see him wanting to do it just because, again, he has control. Who do you think is arguably the greatest coach of all time in the NFL? Who would be like your top two?
You've got to go the Lombardi himself. You've got to go Belichick.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bill Walsh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. How'd Bill Walsh finish his career? At Stanford.
How'd he do?
With a 4-win season and a 3-win season.
Yikes.
Not great, Bob.
So I also think that as much as you say, oh, Bill would never do this, I don't think UNC would do it. I don't think UNC wants him. I think that they're doing it because this gives their coaching search a higher profile, which I don't know how much that's worth, but it does look good for them. Who looks better for this interview, UNC or Bill Belichick?
North
UNC
Carolina.
by a mile. Bill Belichick, greatest NFL head coach ever, came in here, put his 6 rings down on the table. He didn't literally do this. He was on Zoom, apparently. But if that's what they can say, it only makes their institution and their program look better. He was interested in talking to us. How about that?
Don't you want this job?
Yeah, exactly. And the Charlotte Observer report, Andrew Peterson saying there would be 2 or 3 dozen guys they would choose before they get to Bill, which is a pretty harsh way of saying they interviewed him, but they're not that interested.
He's top 40.
I hope that was the case at UMass when they talked to Joe Judge. They interviewed him, but they really weren't all that interested.
That
was
I
just to
think it's the
impress
same
people.
report. It's the same report, right? That says they were blown away. They were blown away by the interview with Bill Belichick.
Blown away.
And so he's in the top 36.
They're blown away at the interview, and they have no intention of hiring him. They are all set with that.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.